And here we are in part 2 of ranking sources of information and discussion about game design. The next one, as we go down from more useful to less useful ways of learning, is panels or speakers at game conventions. And also videos or audios of the same, which are made more often than you might think. For example, I've recorded the audio of many talks I give at game conventions, and they're available on my website. Panels tend to be more diverse and less focused than individual speakers, so the signal-to-noise ratio ought to be better for the speakers, but that depends on the people involved. Then we have podcasts. Many podcasts are more or less spontaneous or involve a lot of chit-chat between the two or more hosts. In contrast, videos usually are carefully planned. So in a podcast, there can be lots of wasted airspace. Also, unfortunately, I think many podcasters are more interested in hearing themselves than in helping their listeners, so it's very haphazard. Then we go to non-anonymous online forums. Facebook is a major one here. Google Plus is another one. In fact, in the past few years, many discussion groups have moved to Facebook because it avoids anonymity. We have the old equation: online plus anonymity plus audience equals something we really don't want to deal with. The people on these forums are not only not anonymous, they have to behave, or they may be banned by the moderators. Of Games Only site, we have Boardgamegeek that has forums specific to games. I confess I rarely go there. It suffers from some of the internet comment nastiness, but the game design section specifically is an awful lot of "look what I did." And over the years, I look at it less and less, hardly ever now. On the other hand, Board Game Designers Forum is much less me-oriented and offers a much higher level of useful information, I think. As we move down the line now, we have structured forums like Reddit and Quora. The problem here is so many of these places are all about the writer. Some even actively don't want to hear about solutions such as books or articles or blog posts or podcasts that answer the question very well. They want it answered right there. So it's all about the forum, and yet that's a recipe for duplication. Now, Quora is much more closely watched by moderators, and I sometimes contribute there. I don't mess with Reddit. Then we have the purely anonymous online forums and comments, and the traditional formula really applies here. Online plus anonymity plus audience equals something very bad. That is, you're likely to run into a lot of nastiness, posing as an expert when one isn't, and look at me behavior. This is not efficient. There's a Twitter handle, "Don't read the comments." And I haven't seen any tweets from them lately, but they used to tweet a lot about reasons why not to read the comments. And some people, like that one, recommend that you don't read the comments on any piece online. And that's because there are many weak-minded people who feel such a need to validate their own opinions and preferences that they attack anyone who is different. Now I'm going to quote Tom Sorensen, who's a Charlotte Observer sports columnist, and what he says is about sports, but it applies the same for games. Quote, "In sports, as in politics, there are people who think that if you dare disagree with them, you are a moron, and not even a regular moron, but a certified moron," unquote. Another Sorensen quote, "Message boards are where the perpetually put upon gather. I get it. When I was in college, I worked to be cynical. Then I grew up. Message board writers are mad at referees, the media, the government, the school board, rival teams that get all the breaks, and the world. If your job is at all public, you hear from them. In the old days, I responded to their emails and tweets, but I got nothing out of it. They were angry on rainy Mondays and on sunny Saturdays. And the same is with games, and he regards Twitter as one of these message boards. I use Twitter a fair bit, and occasionally I get something useful out of it. And I haven't run into too much hostility, although it's there. But anything where you're using 140 character entries is just not likely to provide high quality information. So what do I use? Well, to me, books are a treasure trove. And online courses can be if you can find one that's appropriate. I rarely watch individual videos or listen to podcasts. I used to listen to the Ludology podcast a lot, and I would recommend that one if you're going to listen to a podcast. I like to attend talks at conventions by people I respect, but I don't go to conventions to play games. I go to conventions to talk with people or to listen to people. I like Board Games Designers Forum for tabletop games. I pick and choose carefully from Gama Sutra blogs. And I use Twitter, but I'm not using it so much for discussion as dissemination of information and occasionally running across an article recommended by somebody else that's really useful to read. No doubt I've left something out. I almost forgot Twitter. Try to spend your time wisely. Keep in mind the most important thing is to make games. Thanks for listening.